So, Next Gen Scientist Foundation is a non-profit science outreach organization which is committed towards promoting science amongst Indian youth and guiding them to careers in research. So, it was initially founded by the industrial biotech students of Anna University, and now it is like governed by student body comprising of students from all over India. So ultimately, we plan to utilize this network to create a platform to promote scientific knowledge amongst the general population of aspiring researchers. So our initiative of this Discord channel, which is Indian Life Science Network, is trying to connect all the Indian researchers across the world and provide a platform to share opportunities, data, and support. So it is the latest initiative of NGSF aimed at connecting life science researchers, communicators, and aspirants to promote exchange of ideas, skills, and discoveries. So this session today is regarding internship opportunities and research interest. So NGSF has launched the internship program for 2020, which you would have looked upon. So the main initiative of this is that we understand that take the first steps as a researcher can be very daunting for any student given the cutthroat competition. So independent research experience has become one of the most important factors in making recruitment related decisions. So such experience usually begins with summer internships or thesis work. So the NGSF internship program has been designed to help and alleviate this program by financially assisting young Indian students looking to pursue some of their first research projects. So the details of the program is there in our website. You can check that out. And also the deadline is by March 31st. So today we'll be discussing upon all the opportunities as well as any queries that you would be having regarding the internship program. So starting today's session and finding internship opportunities and research interests, we have in our panel Ramakrishnan and Pavitran, who are both current PhD students in Germany. Let's welcome them together. Before we get into the talk, let me inform that in case of any questions or queries, you may raise your hands and we will unmute you and allow you to ask your questions. So, Ram and Pavitran, could you please introduce yourself and the area of research you're working on?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, Pavitran.
Yeah, great. So I am Pavitran from Chennai in Tamil Nadu, and I'm doing my PhD in the University of Düsseldorf in Germany. I'm working in the plant science in a project called Simpor that deals with uh, the signal transduction between different cells in the plants. So yeah, looking forward to interacting with you and answering your questions.
Thank
Hi
you,
everyone.
Pavitran.
Sorry. Hi everyone. I am Ramakrishnan, and I'm also basically from Tamil Nadu. And currently, I'm doing my PhD from Helmholtz Center, Munich, Germany. And I did my bachelor's from Anna University, Industrial Biotech, and my master's from Delhi University in Plant Molecular Biology. Currently, during my PhD, I'm investigating the differential drought stress response in 3 different species of Brassicaceae. And primarily, I use yeast 1 hybrid and network science approaches to understand the underlying molecular gene regulatory networks in these 3 species so that we can unlock novel ways to engineer drought tolerance in the susceptible species. I'm also looking forward to listening to your questions and answering them.
Thank you so much, Ram. So, like getting into the session, the first question would be obviously, so what was your first internship that you applied for and you did? I guess Ram, you can start and then Pavitran can
Okay,
answer.
sure. So, all right. So I came to know about this concept of internship only at a later stage of my undergrad, and by like say third year, I guess. So I was not really successful in finding internship positions during my undergrad, but eventually after my undergrad, like after finishing the course, I had 2 month break during which I applied independently to a PI at Delhi University South Campus, wherein I try to understand the molecular basis of viral tolerance in rice plants using rice tungro virus agroinfiltration type. And for me, yeah, personally, it was a great experience because most of my research I had until then done at Anna University, which is not super equipped for research. Let's say it doesn't have like a great infrastructure for research, but has basic infrastructure. But upon entering full-fledged research lab, I was really amazed by the the techniques that they use and the ease of cloning and PCR, those kind of stuff. And that's when I really realized that within India you can have drastic changes in the infrastructure, and then thereby moving out of your university, you can really have a great exposure and have a great understanding about techniques used for addressing research questions. So that was my first internship experience.
Okay. Pavitran, your first internship was?
Yeah, so I did not do an internship as such. My first research experience was for my MSc dissertation work. I was an MSc student of plant science in Goa University, and I had applied for my thesis at the National Center for Biological Sciences, NCBS Bangalore, and I had gone there for my dissertation for 4 months. So yes, going from a state university to an institute like NCBS, it's like a whole different thing and opened up a lot of opportunities and worldview. So yes, my MSc dissertation was my first research experience.
True. So one thing which I noticed is that the current university first you study, let it be Anna University or the Goa University, there weren't much equipment as advanced as an NCBS Bangalore, which we all know about. So how did you approach them? Like, how did you approach the professor first to get into it?
So yes, the first thing is to identify what you are interested in and what other people are doing. So it's basically about knowing about yourself and knowing about other people around you and keeping your eyes and ears open to both yourself as well as others. And yeah, I basically, if you ask me, I had mailed a bunch of people, and I mean, anybody who mails emails people for research experience knows that probably 10% to 20% of the people only reply. And among the people who reply, you have to go through with them and find what your niche is and see some compatibility and find a position. So that's what worked for me. So there are always people who would want to offer opportunities for undergrad and master students. So you have to seek and find them and find compatibility with your research interests and the research that they are doing. And yeah, that's how I found my opportunity.
Yeah. So, but initially when you chose plant science as your master, so what was the reason for you to choose plant science, which is a bit more specific?
Yeah, basically, I was interested in plants. I was not interested in the medicine or human science. So, in school, I was a biology student. I was interested in biology, and plants for some reason attracted me. I am not sure why it was. Probably my elder brother was in animal science, so probably I wanted to go in a different direction. Yeah, so I was basically attracted to plants rather than humans.
Okay, so that is from the initial. Then, Ram, what about you? So, how did you approach the Delhi University regarding your internship? Ram, could you hear us? Yeah. Uh,
I
okay.
guess he has some issue. We'll keep
Yeah.
discussing until he's back. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I guess this is fine.
he's back.
So, it.
And
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
I listened to your question. Sorry for this inconvenience. So for me,
It's okay.
you know, like as a undergrad, you are always having, let's say, larger than life research interests. I would say when I was doing undergrad, the research interests were like between myself and other friends are like to find a cure for the disease, to cure cancer, that kind of stuff. And for me, it was something like that kind of scenario, where you see something and then uh, you come up with the interest which is also larger than life. And towards the end of my undergrad, we had to do this dissertation. And for dissertation, what we tried to do within Anna University under the supervision of Dr. Madangi Ganapati was that we wanted to express this antigen. Basically, it's we were trying to develop vaccine um, for filariasis, and then there
Okay.
was a candidate for a vaccine, and the concept was that whenever you produce vaccine, you try to purify this antigen, and then you develop vaccine. We also have a vaccine for COVID at the moment, right? So based on the antigen, and then you inject it, and then you get this response. And what we were trying to do is that we wanted to develop edible vaccine using the vaccine candidate. So we thought we can have a plant express this candidate, and then if we can consume it, and then we can get technically vaccinated, something like that. And while working on the project, what I realized is that the vaccine supply chain has a huge issue, which is still at the moment that once you have a vaccine candidate, it needs to be stored and shipped, and you need to have a proper cold storage facility for distribution. And then the second problem is that when you have an outbreak, just like now, you will have an issue in scaling up the vaccine, which we also faced during COVID. So technically, both of these issues were something that struck me a lot. And also, we had Ebola outbreak at the same time during my dissertation period. So I could, in reality, I could see that how countries in Africa were suffering because of this cold chain issue, and also vaccine development and deployment problems. And I was like, okay, I was thinking that plants are great. Probably if you're able to produce something like a vaccine faster, because you can scale easily by growing more plants, I thought that would be something like a breakthrough, something like that. So that's how I got interested in plants per se. I was not like really into plant science, but I wanted to modify plants in a way that they can produce lots of vaccines, something like that. And that's what led me to
Okay.
the first internship lab, where what they were trying to do is they were developing a virus infiltration system. So what happens is that if you want to produce something in excess in plants, you have to put the vaccine container inside virus and inject the plant with the virus, and then it produces more of this protein. So in their lab, what they were trying to do is they were developing viral vectors for plants. So wherein you can have this virus and it can also carry your gene of interest and express it in the plant. But what they studied was like viral resistance and tolerance, those kind of stuff. But I thought eventually I will get in the direction wherein I get to know about the plant viruses and also more molecular mechanisms of the plant, thereby try to convert the plants into biofactories kind of stuff for vaccines. So that was how I got interested in plant science in first place.
Okay. So the initial which you said that your project was on filariasis and vaccine production, was it something you came up, like was it your like you came up with it, or you just saw that your professors were working on it and you approached them?
You are talking about the dissertation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So the dissertation part was that as an I didn't have much idea about anything. So what happened is that I had another friend who was into producing. Okay, again that's going to be funny. So he was into cannabis. Okay, and he wanted to have like he had read a paper projects where you get like cannabis has some medicinal properties or compounds, and then he somehow wanted to develop a version of cannabis without a certain compound so that it can go through regulatory approval, something like that. and that's how he took me to the lab of Madangi ma'am, and then she told us like, that kind of projects are not practical, so we have this kind of projects running in our lab. If it's interesting to you, you can join. So that's how I entered that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then moving on to how was your experience working in Delhi University and looking at all the equipments and all that? What is your experience of those 2 months?
Okay, yeah, for me it was practically life changing because as an undergrad I had never done internships during my B.Tech. So I was stuck with this thinking that whatever internship, like whatever research infrastructure in India is limited, and that all the great research always happens abroad. I also had a lot of friends who had done internships, and when they came back, they used to tell me stories of, how things are there. And I thought, okay, there is all of India is going to do, like I thought, like a bad infrastructure, and then I thought only good infrastructure exists abroad, which was like completely wrong. And I only realized it when I was in this DU South campus that they have. Like they have great infrastructure. Like they were part of tomato genome sequencing project, rice genome, like both which was published in Science, I guess. Then rice genome sequencing project, wheat genome sequencing project. So are like nature papers, and researchers there were great. So I could for my I remember when I was in Anna University, when I had to see the sequencer, the Sanger sequencer for first time, we had to take like we it was a day trip to visit Tanwas in Chennai to see the sequencer for first time. But when I was in DU South campus, I could see like 4 or 5 sequencers in just one room, and see this NGS sequencer also for the first time in my eyes, and also having a core sequencing facility, and also to see a lot of PCR machines, and especially qPCR machines, which was like a rarity at the time in the university at the time, and it was something like nothing in the DU South campus that it was like so gradual to use that. So that's when I realized that within India, you can have great, the scale is quite huge. You can start with a very bad infrastructure, and you also have research centers in India which are on par and doing great research with international standards. And that's when I realized what I missed by not doing internships earlier in my undergrad career. And that's why we keep stressing the importance of doing summer internships early on during your undergrad, and that's why also we have this NGSA internship program.
True. It's true. Even I'm an undergrad student, and I've never, like most of our friends, haven't done internships, and we couldn't really find the proper opportunity, or do we know how to approach them? So I guess this would be useful. Pavitran, regarding NCBS Bangalore, so how was your experience of those 4 months? They do have a very good collaborations with other institutes. So how was it?
Yeah, so going from a place like Goa University, any state university for that matter, doesn't have much of a research intensive program. The courses are mostly not research intensive. So going from there to an institute like NCBS is like getting no food and then suddenly going to a five-star hotel or something. So you get everything. You get ideas. You get lectures, and you get collaborations. You get to know people, and not only you learn research, you also learn collaborations and how to interact with people, uh, and sharing spaces and time with other people. So it's whole lot of a thing. And I was also in DU South Campus when Rama was there. I was there for a couple of years. I had registered for a PhD, and then I discontinued that and came to Delhi. So yes, so going from a state university to either a central university like DU or to an institute like NCBS is like an eye opener in every other respect. It's a great experience.
True. Yeah. So if you say about Central University, how did you like approach them? For example, did you look at the universities first and then said like, let me mail the professors individually, or were you just looking at some paperwork and all the researches they have been doing, and then you approach the professor? Because the difficulty which we all phase is that, for example, like we know, I like to do my research based on plant science, but how will I approach? Because there are like thousands of universities all around, and there are so many professors. What? How will I first approach them?
So yes, I'll speak for myself. With my experience, I first identified what I wanted to do. So during my masters, I think just before my dissertation, I came to know that I was interested in a particular aspect of plant science called calcium signaling that takes place inside a plant cell. So I fixed my eyes on calcium signaling. I worked in a lab in NCPS that was also working on calcium signaling, though I did not venture much into calcium signaling. So I began to scout for the labs that were working on this and the related research lines. So that's how I got to know about a professor at DU South Campus, and I approached him. And so, as I said, when you mail n number of people, you get replies only from 10 to 20%. So, and it's also bad in one way to keep your research focus so close to one area. So I also mailed to a lot of other people, and I attended interviews with at least three people in Delhi, one at South Campus, one at NAPGR, and one at ICJB. And yeah, because of my interest in calcium signaling, the professor at South Campus, he said he wanted to take me. So we found that compatibility uh, at the range of research interest. So that's how it worked for me. It's always good to mail a lot of other people too that lies outside your research interest. But yeah, you have to know what they are doing and what you want to do in their lab. That's always important. Not some random mails.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So one thing is that as an undergrad student, and also due to like 2 years of mine, I never had a chance to look at anything around because we were all in our houses, and I could not say what is my specific area of research. And I could also find quite a few people around me who say that I couldn't actually get into a definite domain right now. But then you had the opportunity to say, I like calcium signaling, or Ram said, I did work in viral vector plants, and then I thought I would get into plants. So, was there a situation before where even you were completely clueless, and then something clicked, and that is why I went into this?
Of course, I first thought during the first year of my masters that I mean in my bachelor's and in the first phase of my masters that I was interested in plant taxonomy. And then I told myself that no, I'm interested in ecology. So this always keeps changing and the goalposts keep shifting. And I think some things are just you get it's like a fancy kind of a thing to some topics, and it's not a real interest that you want to do in something. So that keeps changing, I think, by reading more and yeah, keeping your eyes and ears open to other people and other stuff. I think you'll slowly begin to know what actually works for you, and whether you can give your life for that. So yeah, that's how it works. It's not one thing that you find in the beginning and it might hold for your lifetime. It wouldn't happen probably.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like to add something, but before that, Madhumitha, should we take some questions? What's the
Yeah,
plan?
I was just about thinking that will this Satya and Amuran will unmute them one by one. So
Okay.
I guess Satya is
Yeah,
able to
hi.
talk now.
Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, Satya.
Yeah, just that I was a little curious to know the reason why Pavitran discontinued his PhD, because Ram was saying that the infrastructure there at Delhi University South Campus was really good, and whether you were dissatisfied with the infrastructure there or the problem statement you were working on, and so you applied for abroad while you were also working in PhD at the Delhi University.
Good question, thank you. So yes, research is not only about infrastructure, right? It's compatibility with your supervisor, compatibility with your lab mates, compatibility with the department as a whole and other labs. So a whole lot of things matter. So I thought it was not for me. After a couple of years, I started my PhD. So yes, that's why I left. It's a whole lot of reason. It's not just one reason.
Yeah, okay.
It's slightly
Thank you.
complicated.
Yeah, I think I can understand. So thank you,
Yeah,
Pavitran.
yeah.
Thank you, Sathya. Next, Nabarun, I hope you can unmute yourself now.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now.
All right. So what I was asking was that often when I go to some websites of institutes and certain labs, often what I find is that the researchers haven't really updated their website. So I see papers which they have published some years back, but it's very difficult to know what they are working on currently. So how can we know that, and whether what papers we and yes, so. Uh, is reading their papers the only way to know what they are working on if they have not put up a detailed description of what they are working on in their website itself?
Yes, I think that's a good question, and it'll be better if everybody who asks questions introduce yourself. I mean, what you are doing and where you are
Okay,
doing.
so yeah, so I'm a fourth year integrated master's student. I'm studying
Mhm.
in St. Xavier's College, Kolkata,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I
Good.
okay.
So yes, most of the time, a lot of people don't update their websites, don't update their publications, and they may even change research areas. So you will not be able to help that. But what you can do is you can develop contacts with people in their lab and in related institutes. So I think if you something like through NGSF or the ILN, you can develop contacts with people who work in the campus or in the department or in the lab, and through them you can get to know what they are doing currently. And for publications, most people update their Google Scholar profiles, so you can go to Google Scholar and find their publications. Uh, so basically, knowing about their research, one way is to read their publications, and second is to talk to people who are associated with them.
Nabarun, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thanks a lot.
If Rama wants to add something.
If I have to, let's say, if you need to, okay, first of all, if you don't have much information about the lab, technically it doesn't make sense to apply to them. But if there are like certain areas that they worked upon, if you want to know really current stuff, probably usually what happens is that when they are part of some like a conference, or if the students are part of the conference, you can have some sense of idea there by just googling their names. uh, Sometimes they mention this in the research gates. Sometime a grant agency would have had the grant public, and then this PA would have been mentioned there. Google Score is something Pavitran told. You also have something like OrcID, and also you can just search for the PI's name in PubMed. Those are the ways. Ideally, I think a PA should keep the lab website updated. But if that doesn't happen, those are things. And connecting with other people in the lab, I think that's also a very good solution. And what I used to do also when I first contact some labs, like international labs, I don't contact the PAs directly, because if I have to contact the PA directly, then I have to do this through my PA. I also try to get in touch with some students in the lab first, then I really understand if that lab has something that I want to do, and then later on do the mail to the PA. And sometimes what happens is that if you are able to find the email address of any PhD or postdoc kind of like students from that lab, they will be more than happy to actually help you and give you a realistic answer about the lab than the PI itself. So that will be my opinion.
Thank you. Helps a lot.
Thank you, Navrin. So, Ram, you said you wanted to add something when we were talking initially.
Okay, so research interest,
Pavitran?
yeah. So the research interest is something like it's like what you find what you think that you like at the moment, right? And so like Python said, it always keeps evolving over time, and it's only at the moment that you feel that something is interesting. And even during my undergrad days, stem cell and regenerative medicine was something like a hot topic. It always there are like some fields which are like say which get very popular. Like for example, CRISPR. Everybody wants to do CRISPR, or like at that time it was like stem cell regenerative medicine, and then there was like single cell based works, and at the moment there is microbiome. So this that and also COVID is a trend. Like there is a trend. Always the trends keep changing. So it I will not be able to tell that. No, research interest is something that remains solid always, but you should be in pursuit of your research interest. Until then, you will not know what is your interest. So you can probably, like when I started off, stem cell regenerative medicine was also something I thought I would find it interesting, and I started reading a lot. I participated in a quiz competition that helped me to learn a lot about the field. Then I realized it's quite boring, and so that's yeah. So then I went to this plant scenario, right, where I told you about plant vaccine and stuff.
Yeah.
I pursued that, and I also applied to several labs in PhD. That then I realized this is not the viable option because only few labs in the world do this. So, so that's how I then shifted to something broad, and then I went to this plant, drought, abiotic stress, crop improvement scenario, which I am starting to find a little bit boring. Okay, so but now I find something cool is network science. So research interest will keep evolving, but you should be honest about it at that moment and pursue it. And with that pursuit, you will find what you really like. So that's my answer. We also
Do
have
you
one
like
question.
think that we can?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll ask.
yeah. Go
Before that,
ahead.
like I wanted to ask, like, do you think that we can change our research career, say even after PhD or something, you're working on something, then you feel, I need to do something else. Is that okay when you evolve? Is that fine? Is that possible?
Any stage of your career, even after you become a professor, you can change whatever you are doing. People change all the time, actually. That's
Okay.
good exploring a
Because,
lot of different things.
It depends
true.
also on the type of
Yeah.
person you are. Whether you are someone who wants more like depth, not bored by it, because research is something. Uh, let's say you are always taking risk when you're doing experiment or when you're pursuing a new research interest. The success of your let's say hypothesis is going to decrease in a field where you don't know much about. But it's also the type of person you are. Whether you want to bank on your previous strength or you want to explore and develop new skills. And there are like always labs which like people who come with like who have a completely different background and come to them and develop their research interest, because then you get best of both worlds. Like in our lab, at the current lab where I do PhD, the one who is like we have a project where he's using convolutional neural networks to predict the protein levels in a cell based on the RNA, like the RNA level, so the transcriptome. And his background was in electrical
Okay.
engineering. So he did his electrical engineering. He shifted to machine learning, image analysis, where he learned the convolutional neural network during his internship. And now he's doing convolutional neural networks for something like basic molecular biology. So my PI is more than satisfied and happy with him. And in our lab also, we are happy because he is now, biologists are quite poor in certain things, like for example mathematics, or so he is going to be good at those things. So you can get this kind of combinations. So it's always possible. You have to see if you are ready for this or what kind of person you are.
Okay. Yeah. So one more thing I want to ask is that the main thing which you guys always say is that you're approaching them through mail. So there is always the larger proportion that we will be probably rejected, but then there is always a few percentage that will get accepted. Do you guys like find something which you think that this criteria is actually very helpful, or mailing at this particular, like say even schedule time, or even mentioning these particular interests is actually working on the positive side? Do you think there are certain criteria for mailing a professor or anyone per se?
Yeah, really, really. There are a lot of things, lot of small things that we need to pay attention to when we email for a position. So yes, I don't know where to start and where to end because there are a lot of things. If you people asks for something, then we can, or if Rama, if he thinks about something, we can start from there.
So
Okay.
you are going to mail a professor. Okay, let's say you're going to make an inquiry about internship, or if it's going to be PhD push. Okay, there are certain things which if you do, for sure they will not consider you. Okay, so we can say certain things will make you to be rejected immediately. You will be rejected immediately.
Okay, the do's
And
and don'ts.
yeah, and then there are certain things you can always do right, and still you can be rejected. But then that is not because of you. That's because of the lab's position at that time. Okay, and then there is a sweet spot where you do things right, and they also have vacancy. So you need to understand that you can make a best proposal and still be rejected, because not every lab is ready to host an intern always. Okay, and then there are times where you will do all the things right and they also have vacancy. And then the last scenario is something which is in our control, where you have a genuine opportunity but you make a bad impression. So we can talk about the last part. So the last part is that first is that you need to have first thing is that you need to make, you should have be good with your English in the mail. Okay, this is number one, that don't make any grammatical mistakes there. And second is that you have to show genuine interest in that mail to be in that lab. Think about this. When PIs write projects, okay, they are the only or very few people know about the project, and they write a project assuming that that's a interesting research question, and then they get this money. The best thing that the PA can do is find people who also find that interesting. And it's like a compliment to them when a student reads about this and he or she finds it interesting. Okay, so basically you are complimenting the PI for the efforts he or she has taken. So
Okay.
you should, so they should know that you have put in your effort in the mail. When you, let's say when you frame the mail, that you read through the details of the, either if in the website there's a project description, you read through that, or you read one or two papers wherein you understood the experiment behind this question that they are trying to answer, and then you describe such details in the mail. Why you found their work interesting, how does it connect with your past, or how does it connect with you as a person, where you want to get to in your life. If you make that impression in the email, they are forced to reply you because you made a genuine effort, and then it is their project. Even if they have to reject you, they'll be still nice to you. They might still say, okay, next year I might take an intern, or yeah, something like that. So they will find a way to have you, probably not now but later. But you should also know, several Indian PIs will just ignore you also. You can make a best email like and still be ignored. So you should understand that's part of the process. Okay, so it's still, so you still have to apply to a lot of labs. You still have to make genuine effort for every lab you apply, and you're still going to be rejected. So that is going to be the case always. You will never be like successful always. But what you can take as a learning when you apply to several labs, which I also take it as a learning for myself, because I got rejected like 20 to 30 applications of mine was rejected for my PhD. And but I was that made me someone very knowledgeable, because reading through 20 to 30 projects and understanding the science behind it, and reading the papers is not something you would do on your own, right? But in this pursuit, it made me someone very knowledgeable in several aspects of plant science. So yeah, there is nothing wrong in putting in that effort, but you should also understand that you're going to be rejected anyway most of the time. So that is my impression.
Okay.
So if I missed something, then Pavitran could add that to that.
I think we'll start from here. We were talking about looking the websites and profiles and publications of other professors, right? So basically, in the beginning, we don't know who they are and they don't know who we are. So we basically, their information is in the public domain. It's in the website and their publications. So we get to know what they are and how they are doing and what they are doing. But them getting to know us is only through our email. So I think that's very important that we present ourselves in a better light in our email. Like Rama said, English or whatever. I have personally made even mistakes in the subject line of the email. You know, it's so bad. Anybody seeing that email will definitely not be keen to reply you, right? So I think it's always good to present yourself in a better light in your email. And in the same breath, I would say that you have to be honest with them for to a major extent. And I think if you pretend to be good when you're not good, anyway, the relationship wouldn't last long. Either when they interview you or when they see you in the lab, they would know that you have pretended. So I think that there should be a level of honesty, and you have to craft your email in a way that there is a level of attraction. You know, when they read your email, they have to have something that says, okay, I would need this guy, because interns in any lab is always kind of a burden for the lab. It's not always very productive because they have to teach interns techniques. They wouldn't get much out of much data or whatever out of their internship period. So it's always a tricky thing to take an intern. It depends a lot on PI, and so yeah, the email is the first gateway for you to enter the PA's mind, so to say.
Okay. So if I go to the very basic question, let me say I am interested in a particular lab of a particular researcher, and I am planning on mailing it to them. So what most people get confused is, what I've seen is that, should they write, it's very basic question, should they write what they are feeling in the mail, the body of the mail, or should they like send it in a separate, like a motivation letter, like put it in a word and then send it to them? So does that actually have some specific criteria, like you need to do it in the body of the mail or you need to send it separately? Is there something specific, or is it okay to send it either way around?
I had the same problem when I was applying. So the solution that I came to myself is that I would briefly mention whatever I had to mention in the attachment file in the body of the mail. So I would say that I'm willing to I would want to be an intern or whatever in the lab, and I will in a couple of sentences I will just encapsulate the research interest and what my what I need from them, and things like that in the body of the mail. So everything will be in the body of the mail, and other detailed proposals and statement of interest. You know, those things will be attached as an email, as an attachment. Because one thing is that you have to make the PIs to open the attachment and read. Many people don't have the luxury of time to go through, because if 10-20 people email them, they will not be able to go through each and gauge because they have other work. So you have to make them open the attachment and read. And some people might not like if the email is too long. If you tell all your life story and everything, the movies that you have seen, if the email is so long, some people wouldn't like it. So I would keep the body not too short but not too long, to a reasonable extent, so that I can say whatever I want to say. And I'll try to make them open the attachment where I have my statement of interest or whatever.
Okay. So one more thing is that, okay, let us say maybe the word limit is like 300 to 400. Would you say that is too less, or I'm just asking?
I think I don't personally, I don't go by word limit. So if I compose a mail and if I see,
Okay.
I will see whether I will know whether it's reasonable or not. I think Rama can also say, because this is something that can involve contrasting opinions too.
Okay, it's facing probably network issues right now. Okay, Ram.
If it's about internship, what I would like to do is that, yeah, if you have, let's say, previous internship experience, and if you want to describe it in detail, you can have a separate document as an attachment. For sure, you need to have something like a CV, and that also can be as an attachment. But if there is some message that you want to convey, I would try to go and convey this in the email, because I think it is important to convey this in the email, because that's the something that's the first thing that they're going to read. Now the issue is that you will say, okay, it's going to be longer. So this is the challenge of writing, right? You can write the same thing, convey the same message in fewer sentences if you work on it. What you need to understand is that when we talk in English, like what I'm doing right now, we use far more words and sentences to convey the same information. But when you write and when you keep rewriting, you can convey the same information in few words. So that is also a skill. Like we do this in abstract, right? When we do this research paper.
Yeah.
And what is really important is that how you structure the email. Like if you should not have like one long passage. That will certainly make them look like it's a big email. But rather, you can have sections in the email where you convey a message. For me, it would be an opening statement which directly tells that I'm interested to do internship in the lab, saying specific time, specific period. If it's a part of a program, that program. So in the first line, you convey everything that you want them to know. And then I have the second paragraph where I start off by saying how I got to know about their lab, and what I found interesting about the lab, and how I got to know that through some papers, if specifically a little bit detail about the experiment, and why I find it fascinating. And then I will, so this will be my next paragraph. Then I will have the third paragraph where I tell like the kind of person I am, what I've gone through, and what kind of interest I have in the long run, and why being in the lab is the best fit for me. And then I just finish off by saying, yeah, looking forward to your response or something like that. So every paragraph is an idea that you convey to them, and you should also make it clear to them that in this paragraph, this is the message you clearly convey to them. So first, you clearly convey when you want to intern the lab, why, like for what period or something. So with that kind of structured writing, you can get a lot of message in, and you can also make the mail look more like legible for them, and you can also do. So this is what I would recommend.
Okay. So from what you're saying, let me just break further into it so that people can know a bit into. So when you said about your introducing yourself, so would you start mentioning, for example, say I have a very good academic score, like I have this much CGPA, and I have done like these certificate courses which may be useful. So do you mention all those in your, like when you're introducing yourself, or does it not apply?
For me, I wouldn't like to do that. You're not trying to impress them, okay? And trying to show that you are trying to impress them is also something that's a behavior which I wouldn't say, like, which doesn't look good. So I would say, like, if I have to introduce myself, I would tell what course I'm doing, which
Okay.
year I'm in, what is my specialization, what period I want to do internship in the lab, like for how long. If I'm applying to a program, that's the only thing they need to know in the first few lines. And then I go into the lab's research interest directly. And then in the last paragraph where you tell about yourself a little bit and the research goal, uh, there you can probably have some, probably if you are good in a certain subject or something like that. But you'd like imagine this, okay? They are like smart people, okay? They are like 40, 50-year old. You cannot,
Yeah.
it means nothing to them, okay? So
True.
you cannot cheat a 40, 50-year old with cheesy lines. So therefore, yeah, you can have those things in the CV. You can say, okay, you are there's a gold medalist. There, it doesn't look cheesy at all because you can have a column called achievements, and there you can mention it. Okay, so that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that is relatable because I have seen people doing that and not doing that. So I guess that would be clear if we really know that what can be people's opinion on it. Pavitran, what do you think about it?
I would also not do that. Anyway, I did not have top scores or grades in my courses, and I think it's always wise not to show off too much, if that's the right word, not to pretend
Okay.
much
Yeah.
when you don't have the stuff. I think it's always good if you show that you are capable of thinking on your own and developing hypothesis, and yeah, so basically they want to know what is relevant for their research. So you can be a gold medalist, still you wouldn't be able to develop a hypothesis by yourself, whatever. So I think it's better to stress on the aspects that is relevant for the research in their lab, rather than anyway your CV will have everything. So
Yeah.
even
Okay.
if that's not necessary, you put that in CV. So that can go in there.
True. So I just want to mention if someone does have any doubts regarding any email criteria, you may be asked because we are going on with that topic. And also, like, is it okay if you mail a PI not knowing whether there is any lab openings? Like, you just like their work and you wish you could work with them. So, is it okay if you directly mail them in that case too? Will they
Of
look
course,
upon
of
it?
course. So it's very rarely that you will come to know whether they need someone or not. And in my experience, many people. I mean, there are people who prefer to take interns. When I was in NCBS, he was a little old, I mean too old then. So he was done with his work and he wanted to train researchers. And the lab I was working in, South Campus too, he was interested in taking interns. But not many other people would be keen on taking interns because it's a burden on them in a way. So I think you can always mail people without knowing whether they need someone or not. And if they need someone, they will mail you back. If they don't, probably they will not reply.
Okay. Yeah. So when we go upon in India, when I say like usually in India, like we try to find opportunities and usually as I said, central university, something or IIT, IISc, GN, JNCSAR. So and many more government institutes. So like we usually like try to mail the respective professors and all that. So similarly, when we go upon, how does it work in maybe abroad? So is it the same way because a wider range abroad is further wider range and you need to know which country will I be choosing at and which further university will I be getting into and do they have my specific domain. So how does it work when you look into universities in abroad?
Your question is for internships or for PhD or something?
Internships, it's it. First maybe we look at internships and then
You want to apply abroad for an internship?
yeah, something similar to my tax or my tax they give the
Okay.
program but
I
other
think
than
Rama can start and I can just chip in.
Okay. Usually, if you're applying through a structured program, of course, like DAD or MyTax or Corona program, yeah, you need to stick to the programs. Like restrictions, Corona program has some restrictions where which institutes and those kind of stuff. for that it's open. You can apply, I guess, any lab in Germany, something like that. Let's say we talk of that scenario, approaching is not very different. Of course, you have to mention the program that you're applying to. That's the only important thing. But showing your interest in inquiring for position is no different. Probably you have to take into consideration, okay, what they might not know about you, or what they will know. For example, certain university in India might be something big. Probably they may not know that, that is something like a brand value of certain things. That is something they may not know. So probably you also need to, yeah, if you are having some abbreviations in the mail, you can make it more easy for them. Otherwise, I don't see why it's going to be different, because you're sending them email for the same purpose.
Oh, okay.
I think if I can add to that, so applying for PhD position is different, and I mean internship. What do you mean for your dissertation or summer internship, something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think opportunities for those are a little limited. Some research institutes abroad, like in plant science, there are some institutes in the UK that offer summer schools and other workshops. Some institutes offer pre-doctoral programs for people who are in their masters or undergrad. So yes, so when you apply to these kind of things, you know the institute and the country you're applying to. So you don't have to decide what your so all these comes for PhD when you apply for PhD. Uh, yes. So you first need to know what and where you have to mail. So yes, that's important. And if you
Okay,
want to
so
apply for
right now,
internships, dissertation and summer internships abroad, then it's a problem of funding. We'll come to funding later. Funding problem is there
okay,
everywhere, but funding problem is compounded in the case of the. So, for example, there was a pre-doctoral program in an institute that I was interested in. So I wrote to them, and when it came to funding, he asked me, "I don't know how a pre-doctoral program can be funded." So that was his reply. So he thought I have to acquire funding from somewhere and work in his lab. So yeah, all these things. So funding matters a lot when you apply abroad for either PhD or internships. We'll come to that later.
okay. So right now there is so much of online internships coming up, right? So accordingly, when I look at it, when it's computational biology, it's fine. Online internship is better, and you can understand it's okay. But then right now there is also online internships where they're actually showing you how this device works and make you do the literature work for it. Do you think that actually adds a value to the specific profile? Let it be abroad or in India, because it works either way around. There are so many online internships happening right now. So, what is your opinion regarding that?
Um, I don't know about this new breed of online internship, where you are saying that they just show you how things work in literature research. But if it is
So
about
there's
something,
quite a lot happening right now, like quite a lot. And to be more specific, most of the UG students right now are there. I'm not getting any internship or anything right now. Let me at least try to add something to my CV. To be very honest, that situation is happening, and I've seen quite a few people doing that. So I wanted to know, like, does it
okay,
really add value?
so okay, see, when I was doing my undergrad, I also wanted to do certain things which I want to put in the CV, and in the long run, they were of no use. And my PI, when he hired me for my PhD, I'm 100% sure he never cared about them. And so most of the time when we do things which we just want to add to the CV, probably they are of no use. And so, but then let's say
Okay.
you did your best to find labs, and if you didn't find summer internship, like where you can go to campus and work, then probably something that you could try is something like a remote internship, where you get to really learn some programming and then analyze the data that kind of stuff is still good, still useful, and best use of time. But just looking at
Yeah. So
document or video, those kind of stuff, I don't think it's going to be of much value or use to you.
yeah, exactly, because when you said analysis part or data part, those come into, you are doing work with computational tools right there. So that is something you have in your house and you are equipped with it and you are actually performing it. But the other way around, it is not happening when you look at other like equipments and all that. Because personally, when I applied for a program and I got selected, and they told that it's COVID time and we can't support offline. Is it okay if you do online? And asked them what kind of work would it be? They said you would be looking at literature and giving me some survey data. Is that okay? So that actually questioned me, and that time everyone were applying for programs, and I was one who wasn't doing anything. So that situation is there for quite a lot of people. I didn't accept it at last because I thought maybe it didn't add value. But most people face that. Why is there a necessary that you need to do something because you don't have anything in your CV right now and you need to do it? So that is one of the main reason why I asked this question. Um,
Okay, so if you can, I can't really come up with a practical solution for COVID because let's say I was not technically affected at that stage of my life to come up with a decision. But what I would recommend is that you can just learn coding skills and participate in some coding competition if you're really into developing skills. Uh, like if like you might be a biology student, but coding skills are transferable. So therefore, you can try to get into good like coding and data analysis part. You can do a lot online. Already there is like platforms wherein you can learn and compete. So you can get there and learn a little bit of machine learning, AI, participate in competition, which will eventually be useful in some project in the future for sure. And the second scenario, what I can really think of is that you do something like a literature review on your own, but I don't know if that's something if students are really that independent at that stage of their life to do that. So I don't really have let's a practical solution for this.
No, I think there are quite people who started doing review paper at this particular point of time in UG. Like not only in my college, I've seen around too. Because since we were all in our houses, the other thing we did is that ask our PI and said, can we like do something? Can we do a review paper? So I think that was another resort right now because everyone wants a publication that has become like I don't know that everyone wants it and they need to add it in the CV. And sometimes it's actually valuable and sometimes it is not. So, do you think that publications and all they look into it while they're selecting you for some program? Is that much necessary?
I don't know if Pavitran wants to add something to this.
To the previous question or this question?
Yeah, anything?
Your opinion or anything?
So yes, regarding that online internship kind of thing, I think it's important to know who is organizing it and what it is. So I think just for mere certificates, if you do something that that it's not of any value, then I think it's a waste of time. I think as Rama said, you can do some coding stuff or improve upon your reading and writing. So that's something you can do. Regarding this publication, it's a little complicated because some people think publications are really important, and some people think you can do without publications. And yes, so if there is a publication, there should be a value attached to it, right? You cannot have something that's just that doesn't have any value as your publication because it sometimes it may even pull your CV down. So if you have something to publish, for example, Rama, I know he published a review paper when he was in his post masters time. So I think if it is of value, if you really have an idea and if you have something or some data and if you want to publish it, you can do it. But just for the sake of publishing, just for putting something in your CV, if you want to publish, then that's a little tricky. So it goes into a different zone then.
Okay.
I can actually add to the how to do this literature review thing, but before that, probably we can take the questions.
Yeah. Also, the Venkateshwaran has asked a question in the knowledge of chat regarding the international internship which you mentioned. Probably couldn't raise his hand or something. I remember there's a MyTex and DAD. Did you mention anything else as a particular international internship? Because he had asked that question.
Okay, what I'm going to do is after this session, I'm going to share the links of all these programs in the knowledge of
Okay.
chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I
That
can
would be
do that
useful.
too. Yeah.
I think I've let. Yeah. Abhiran, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, so good evening again. Yes, so another question that I had was what should be the minimum duration of the internship that I'll be telling to the professor or PI that I'll be doing the internship? Because the problem that I am facing and I have been facing since the beginning of my courses, we have summer vacation of only a month. And with regards to the last semester dissertation, also, we have it only for 2 months. So, what should be the minimum time period of the internship?
Obviously, it is depend upon your course, right? You cannot prolong it, but PIs would recommend or would ideally like to have you for 8 weeks, because they think at least you need to spend 8 weeks in a lab to get a sense of what they're doing and learn some techniques. So ideally, like we have it also for NGSF that it should be around that period, at least 7 to 8 week period. You should be there for 2 months. That's what I would recommend as well. 1 month internships are not highly, like probably they are not good enough. I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, but no, they are not good enough. And whenever I approach labs, they didn't like short internships. They wouldn't want a student to be in the lab for only 2 weeks or 3 weeks like that. So yeah, if your course doesn't allow it, probably it's going to be difficult. Most of the PSU would like to have you for 2 months.
Yeah.
I see, thank you.
Okay. So next is Sathya. I think in letter to.
Yeah, hi. So actually, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to share my personal experience because, as Madhumitha said, I have been in the similar situation wherein we were all in lockdown due to COVID, and none of us got offline internships. So, even without doing any offline internship, I got my PhD admit. So I just wanted to share my personal experience on how was this possible for me, so that students who are affected by COVID situation may have an insight into it. So yeah, can I just add some points to that?
Yeah. I guess that's fine, Satya. You can go on.
Yeah, okay. So when I went for my interview, the first question they asked was, tell about your previous research experiences. And to be honest, I didn't have any, even a single in vitro lab experience. All I did was computational. Yeah, of course, I did one computational project. And apart from that, I did one review paper. That is it for my whole of previous research experience with science. But I was able to talk for about 10 to 15 minutes duration because I was able to tell my motivations for science. Like I believe that they selected me for PhD because they were quite impressed with my enthusiasm and motivation. Like whenever they ask you this question, tell about your research experience without blindly telling about what you worked on. It is actually a good thing to tell your motivation for science because um, uh, just see to how I answer their question. They just asked me what were your works, and I just said about the books I read in science and the autobiography I read in the I read about Dr. Venki Ramakrishnan. All these things they actually complemented to my what to say admit for PhD. So I personally believe that the affiliation you go and work in an organization may not really add up to your profile. I personally believe that the way you express your motivation in your interview, or the way you express your motivation in your CV, SOP, everything matters for getting selected, even in an internship or PhD. So those who were affected by COVID and didn't get any offline internship can actually try to gather so much of motivation for science, so that they can, what to say, you just need to have topics to tell about when they ask you this question. So yeah, I think I didn't confuse you all so much. Did I confuse you all?
No, 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 no. That was understandable. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Satya. Yeah. So
Thank you, Satya.
going on,
Congratulations.
because
I think what she
yeah,
said. I think there is something important in what she said. So even if you don't have a publication as such and something to show, I think communication is very much needed for any kind of application, whether it's a written communication as email that we were discussing, or oral communication. So whatever you want to tell, it's only through written or oral communication. So I think putting it in a better way in writing and in speech is it's essential for bagging any kind of internship or PhD opportunity.
okay. Okay, if we go into this, because we're talking on internships and all right now. So NGSF internship is right now going on, and we have a deadline of March 31st. So there may be any queries right now regarding the internship. So if you have queries regarding that, you can either raise your hand and put it on in the chat box. So what was the first initiative of NGSF internship? If we just go into a bit details about the internship program right now.
So basically, we want students uh, to approach labs on their own and pursue their independent internships, because I think this is how it's done in several countries abroad. If you take US or Germany, um, they always, like US has a lot of competitive undergrad programs where like undergrads and even school students or get some financial allowance to pursue their internships. And we wanted to bring in that kind of system into India, because the government programs or the institute-wise program that run currently in India are restricted to certain labs. Like for an INSA program, it's like something comprehensive. You have several labs around India, but it's not something that will directly put into your lab. You give 4 or 5 options, and then you get something, and then you develop your interest. So we also realized that several students of IITs, ICERs, and even like institutes like Anna University and something, like they contact sometimes the labs independently because they like the research in that lab and they want to spend time in the lab, and there was not a program which would directly fund their pursuits. So we wanted to start doing that, and also give a reason for students to do this exercise, because in other programs you don't contact the professor directly. You apply to the program and then you get matched with the PI. But the experience that you will gain by approaching the PIs directly is also something that you would be like, it will be useful for you when you contact the PIs again for your PhD, or later when you want to do this to international PI, or any time in your life when you want to do this, you will be ready for this. And we also wanted to develop the program in a way that prepares you to do that, like having this research proposal, finding a lab on your own, and also giving this list to find the good labs. Those are the things that were like, say, we wanted to have a system that implements with those principles, and that's how we designed this. We still have a long way to go in terms of implementation and having structures in place, but we wanted to start in that direction.
Yeah, so there was one question. I'm just asking for them. Can final year students be applying for this program where, according to your duration, their course would be completing, let it be B.Tech or PSC, their course would be completing, but still can they apply for the program for NGSF internship?
No, if final year
Right
students are
now, they
applying,
would be the last. Yeah,
they would be
go ahead.
doing dissertation, right?
what if they are just applying for an internship because according to the duration, like in my college, our dissertation should have been completed like before June, because we would be like submitting our thesis at that particular point of time. So what if we want to do after that for a few months, like July,
Okay,
August?
you
Like,
mean after completing your course?
yeah,
So okay,
indirectly it
so
means that maybe we'll be having 1 month with inside the course and 1 month
okay,
outside it. So it will be in between.
okay. So technically, the problem there is that okay, we at the moment that's good thing or a bad thing to do internship after your course. Good thing is probably at the time you have some idea or interest in your mind and you're pursuing it. The bad thing is that most of the academic programs, if it's masters or PhD, you're going to skip through the cycle for an entire year. Like if you are planning on doing that, so that's the disadvantage of that. And
Okay.
like I wouldn't say that like it's a bad option to do. I also did that, but then I discontinued my internship to pursue my masters. But the real problem of having such a program is that after you finish the college, we have a huge number of people who have finished the college still looking for a job or looking like still thinking what they want to do. And then this doesn't only make this year eligible, it makes every other previous generation of students eligible for the program. And we thought that's not a good thing to do because
Okay.
so, and secondly, it's we want to like we have limited funds, so we want to have an impact on the student's life when it is the right time. Like the first internship or the second internship which you will do in your coursework is something that's going to shape your career or something that's going to shape your perspective about science, and that's where we want to help the students the most, not the ones who have already gone through such phases or something like that. So philosophically also, that it didn't feel like something right to do. If we do have such a program, it will be good to support students for a long time after the bachelor's. Like ideally it shouldn't be for 1 month, it should be like for 6 months or 1 year. That way we cover them for like another year so they can get back into this academic cycle. Until then they are covered. So it's not a good implementation to have that after the immediately after the degree.
Okay. Hope that answers the question. And uh, one more thing which I wanted to ask is that right now, internships per se, it is not paid usually, and that is why our program provides them with financial assistance. But then we do approach a lot of professors. Their project may be funded, but for internship per se, they do not really pay us. So that may stop most of the people from actually taking into a research part. So what is your opinion regarding that?
Probably Pavitran, you want to start with the answer?
So yes, most labs don't pay for internships. So that is why we have things like NGSF, right? So what was your question?
No, I wanted to ask, like,
Mm-hmm.
regarding what do you think about paid versus unpaid internship? Like, we provide financial assistance, but there are
Pay,
people who
paid
act.
paid internships are always nice. You need not shell it from your pockets. It's not basically your pockets, but your parents' pockets, right? So when I did my master's dissertation outside, I paid it from my father's pockets. So I had to rent a house outside, and I had to pay for my food, for my house, and everything. So that's not very sustainable. I did it for 4 months. So even for 4 months, that becomes hard when you are at the end of it. So that's not something that's affordable for a lot of people. So paid internships is something very good. If the lab pays you, that's great. If the lab doesn't pay you, I think internships like NGSF, I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you so much. I guess we'll just go into what is a very short note on what the application process of NGSF is before we, because the main thing is that people understand about what the program is about and how we provide them with financial assistance and how we encourage individual. research experience. So can we just maybe Ram or Pavitran a short application process of NGSF so that it will be useful for others?
Start off with finding the lab that you think is interesting for your internship. So we provide a recommended institutes list in our website, and which you can start off because we try to list good institutes in India which will have good infrastructure for research. But you still need to find the lab of your choice in those institutes by contacting the PI directly via email. And once you get acceptance from this PI, you make them fill a form which is available in the website, and then you use this, and you are basically the Discord ID that you would have had in our server to apply to the program with all the documents that we have mentioned in the website. What we what we primarily emphasize on is the research proposal. So you need to do a great job with your research proposal because that's what carries a lot of weight when we select candidates. And once we look at your research proposals, we will let you know by email that we would like to have an interview with you. This time on, the interview will be in our server, and in which 2 or 3 NGSF members will be around. And then we are going to ask you some questions regarding the project and your motivation for research, and then we'll have a scoring and filtering of the candidates based on this interview, and then you're going to get the offer from us. Once you accept the offer, we would like you to do some like fulfill some requirements, which is like every month you need to submit a letter saying that you are continuing this internship, and in the beginning of the month we will dispatch this money. We will put the money directly back into your bank account, and towards the end, probably you need to give a presentation of your work in the server, and that's how we have structured it. We also want you to write an article in our blog because we want like future researchers to be also good with science communication. So that is something you need to do. I guess I have covered pretty much everything with respect to the internship.
Yeah.
We also cover your travel cost if you do take like equivalent to AC train fare. So that will also be reimbursed at the end.
Yeah, I think that sums up it all. So let me just ask one last question regarding what you told about research proposal. So is it something that the student should come up with an idea, or is it fine if we talk about the project which they would be working under a PI?
So usually we have mentioned like 4 questions in our research proposal guidelines, which is that how your interests align with the lab of choice and what questions you're planning to work on in the lab, what kind of experiments, and what are your long-term plans. So we didn't say that you have to explicitly come up with your proposal, but then we assume that you have certain interest on your own even before joining your lab. It can be just a plain small motivation based on some lecture or a book or a video or something like that. So what you're going to say, convince us is that you have some interest or passion on your own, and you're going to pursue that. And staying in this lab and doing this internship is the eventual right step to pursue your passion. And then in that lab, what you're going to do, what kind of experiments you're going to do, what's the project about, how what kind of questions you're going to answer, and how you're going to take this experience later on in your life. Why is it the important step in your life? What do you plan to do with that in your future? So that's how we want you to approach the research proposal.
Okay, so I guess that will answer most of the questions which is on research proposal. So yeah, so this is about the NGSF internship program. So the deadline is on March 31st, and you all can apply before that. I think we can wrap up our event right now. If Rama Pavitran, you want to share something at the end, you may please share.
Before we share something, I have just one thing. Yeah, the audience right now, do you have any question at the moment that you would like to ask us, which you feel is not addressed in this event? Okay, we have one.
Okay. Yeah.
This is just a general question that came to my mind when you talked about taking a gap year after your masters and before getting into a PhD program. So, how is it recommended to take a gap year? Like I was thinking that if I could take a gap year and work under a professor and gain some experience and help it to build my CV, maybe get some publications and then start applying abroad. So, how do you think that idea is? What are the advantages and disadvantages of doing this? If you could address this.
If you have done your masters, you are probably eligible for fellowship positions like JRF. So in that scenario, it's okay because I also worked as a JRF for 1 year. So if you're getting paid after masters, I think it's good to do a JRF. Even after bachelors, if you're getting paid and if the lab is able to hire you as a technical assistant, project assistant, JRF position, it's still okay because you're going to have some money which will cover your cost of accommodation. You can have some savings which you can use for your application. So in those scenarios, it's highly recommended that you do that if you feel like doing it. But there's a third scenario which many of my friends have also done. And what was the issue there is that, see, it is not friendly for people who are from families, where the money is an issue. If you stay in Mumbai or Bangalore or Delhi, every month you're going to spend anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 to do this internship. And if it's not paid, you are probably spending close to 1 lakh rupees doing this thing. It is something that you do for passion, I agree, but it's not something that everybody can do as well, that they can just spend 1 lakh without a degree, without any hope for something in the future. So you have to decide if this money is no big deal for you, you can also do that. But I would recommend that if you are able to get a JRF position or some paid position in the lab, you should pursue that. So that's what is my opinion about that.
Could I ask a follow-up question to this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so is a GRF position a PhD position in a lab? Or are there positions other than PhD positions which are paid?
Yes. If you have done your MSc, you are mostly eligible. The pay scale might change, but you can apply for JRF position.
Okay, I see. Thanks a lot.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bhupender, even you wanted to ask a question? Bhupender, you're not audible. Okay, Ram or Pavitran, are you able to hear him? I'm not.
No, I think if he's using some headphones, he can try removing it.
Yeah.
You can just type in the question in knowledge of chat.
Yeah, you can also do that, Bhupender. Okay. No, we are not able to hear you. You can put it on the chat. There's actually a question in the chat right now. So Naman Jain, he says, I wanted to ask that is it an obligation that we can apply for a scholarship or apply to be part of a lab as per the course that we are currently enrolled in, or are we free to apply in any internship according to our interests? So I guess he's saying that whether we can apply for the internship in any other interest rather than the course he's studying right now.
For summer internships or for what exactly?
I think he's asking for NGSF program.
I think there is I think he wants to ask the question by himself.
Okay, yeah. 1 second.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, Naman.
So I just wanted to ask that since I am a first year student of BSc in applied botany, I am still figuring out what my exact interest is. But since summer internships are near and I want to become a part of one such internship this time. So, is it an obligation for me that I can be a part of a internship or a lab of botany or applied botany, or I can apply in any internship according to my interest?
I think it's only your interest. You can apply to any institute, and even in related streams. Uh, I don't think that matters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Naman. I guess we'll wait for a minute or two because Bhupender is typing. So I guess that's fine if we just wait and listen to
Yeah,
his
sure.
question.
Is he done? No? Is he still typing?
No. He's still typing. I think it's a pretty big question. Yeah, he's done. Wait, 1 second. I want to know that we would firstly approach the PI and tell them the research proposal. After getting yes, then I should fill the form and mention the research proposal to it. Or simply I should fill the form with the proposal.
No,
He's
first he should.
disconnected and didn't hear that properly earlier.
He should. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, he's just asking the order of things, right?
Or whether he should have an acceptance before applying for NGSF. That's what he wants to know, right?
I think that is a preliminary question of what he's trying to ask. No, he's typing again, so I guess he got it wrong. Bhupender, for one time, maybe we can try. Okay, yeah. No, you got it right. So he's saying yes. So he wants to know the order of how it works.
So basically, first he needs to approach the PI, get the acceptance, then frame the proposal based on the lab he's going to do the internship. Probably get some help from PI and ask like what the PI is going to ask him to do in the lab, what project is going to be assigned to, what kind of techniques he can expect to learn. Those kind of questions he can learn from the lab he's going, and then frame the proposal and apply to us.
Okay, so I think that perfectly answers your question, Bhupender. I think. Okay, sure. So Bhupender is fine. I think there is another question coming up from Venkateshwaran. If it's really taking you guys time, maybe we can hear it in the internship queries channel too, right? That's always open to us.
Is he typing or it's done?
He was typing and he stopped. So I'm not really sure right now.
If he can just ask
so
a question, he can just ask. That's okay with me.
Yeah, Venkateshan, if you want to ask it out, you can ask us.
You can just raise your hand.
You can raise your hand. Yeah. I think he's better into typing. No, I'm done. Okay, I think maybe you had a similar question. He's done. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think there's no more questions. And even if you all do have questions, there's internship queries channel here. You can ask your questions anytime and we would be answering them. So yeah, I think we'll be wrapping up right now. Thank you so much, Ram and Pavitran, for patiently answering all our questions. Yeah.
Thank you, Madhumitha. To you, you have been a very nice host, actually.
Yeah, thanks, Madhumitha. Thanks for
the structuring
asking
and
right
everything was
questions.
very nice. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhumitha. Thanks for the audience as well.